Back when I rode for the legal circuit in Illinois, I defended a woman from Metamora named Melissa Goings, 77 years old. They said she'd murdered her husband. He was 83. He was choking her. She grabbed hold of a stick of firewood, fractured his skull, and he died. In his will, he wrote, "I expect she has killed me. If I get over it, I will have revenge." No one was keen to see her convicted. He was that kind of husband. I asked the prosecuting attorney if I might have a short conference with my client. She and I went into a room in the courthouse, but I alone emerged. The window in the room was found to be wide open. It was believed the old woman may have climbed out of it. I told the bailiff, just before I left her alone in the room, she asked me where she'd get a good drink of water, and I told her, Tennessee. Mrs. Goings was seen in Metamora no more. Enough justice had been done. They even forgave the bondsman her bail. I decided that the Constitution gives me war powers. No one knows just exactly what those powers are. Some say they don't exist. I don't know. I decided I needed them to exist to uphold my oath to protect the Constitution, which I decided meant I could take the rebel slaves from them as property confiscated in war. Now that might recommend a suspicion that I agree with the Rebs that their slaves are property in the first place. Of course I don't. Never have. Glad to see any man free. And if calling a man property or war contraband does the trick, why, I caught at the opportunity. Now, here's where it gets truly slippery. I use the law allowing for the seizure of property in a war, knowing it applies only to the property of governments and citizens of belligerent nations. The South ain't a nation. That's why I can't negotiate with them. So if in fact the Negroes are property according to law, have I the right to take the rebels' property from them if I insist they're rebels only and not citizens of belligerent countries? Slipperier still, I maintain it ain't our actual southern states in rebellion, but only the rebels living in those states, the laws of which states remain in force. The laws of which states remain in force. Now that means, since it's states' laws that determine whether Negroes can be sold as slaves, as property, the federal government doesn't have a say in that, at least not yet. The Negroes in those states are slaves, hence property, hence my war powers allow me to confiscate them as such, so I confiscate them. But if I'm a respecter of states' laws, how then can I legally free them with my proclamation as I done? Unless I'm canceling states' laws. I felt the war demanded it. My oath demanded it. I felt right with myself, and I hoped it was legal to do it. Hoping still. 2 years ago, I proclaimed these people emancipated. Then, thenceforward, and forever free. Now let's say the courts decide I had no authority to do it. They might well decide that. Say there's no amendment abolishing slavery. Say it's after the war, and I can no longer use my war powers to just ignore the court's decisions like I sometimes felt I had to do. Might those people I freed be ordered back into slavery? That's why I'd like to get the 13th Amendment through the House and on its way to ratification by the states, wrap the whole slavery thing up forever and I as soon as I'm able. Now! End of this month! And I'd like you to stand behind me, like my cabinet's most always done. As the preacher said, I could write shorter sermons, but once I start, I get too lazy to stop.